Those are the crazy school grades coming to some school divisions in Saskatchewan. We were just talking about Saskatchewan, that they're getting the big things right. Unfortunately, some of the school divisions are getting the small things right. E, exceeding expectations. M, meeting expectations. What do you say if your kid brings home an AP? What does that really mean? But Saskatchewan's not the only province that has strange things happening in education. Paige McPherson joins us now to talk about what is happening in British Columbia. And Paige, a big rewrite of the curriculum going on in that province, right?
Yeah, actually, it's sort of the first of its kind here in BC. What they're doing is drafting a curriculum to change all of the subjects at once and trying to make it so that they all streamline together in terms of their subject matter, moving away from student outcomes and moving more towards broader conceptual understanding of topics, and also incorporating very heavily an Aboriginal worldview, both in content and in actual teaching strategy.
See, when you say moving away from outcomes, that means moving away from things that they can clearly mark for grades and going to concepts and ideas. This is something that was done in Ontario, including in the math curriculum, and it was the one thing that I can think of that had myself, commentators on CBC, editorials in the Toronto Star, and the Globe and Mail all agreeing on, you're going in the wrong direction, kids aren't learning math, but BC's going full steam ahead across the entire curriculum, not just math.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's something that it is common across the country. You know, curriculum reviews are pretty normal, and of course we do see this move toward a more progressive education style. And every time this happens, you have education policy thinkers, especially at think tanks across the country, just shaking their head, especially the people who do school rankings, because we don't have those outcomes. And when, for example, I spoke with Michael Zwagstra from the Frontier Centre for Public Policy. They do education policy there, and he said that when you take something like math or history, when you have these specific dates that you need to know, and you sort of explain it in these ways that are trying to have a more broader community-based understanding of things, what it does is it just jumbles it when students just need to know the numbers. That's what they need to know, and it makes it more convoluted and difficult for them to understand. And another thing I want to bring up is that I spoke with the Fraser Institute's Peter Cowley. He actually does the school rankings there, which is a measure for teachers to actually look at their public schools, see which ones are performing well, which of course parents should be privy to that kind of information.
We like to know that, I can tell you, we like to know that.
Exactly, and he said that this kind of thing does raise concerns about whether or not we're going to be able to have those outcomes to actually see those rankings at the end of the day. So here's more of what Peter Cowley had to say.
How are the skills and competencies going to be measured to determine that we're actually successful at what we want to do? And how will we be able to seek out best practice unless we're able, on the basis of data, to compare one school to another?
So, Paige, this is a move, as you said, away from outcomes. That means you can't measure, as Cowley was just saying there. What's fascinating to me is that the BC Teachers Federation, their union, is heavily involved in the rewrite. I want to read a quote from the head of the BC Teachers Federation talking about this, or sorry, he's the vice president, Glenn Hansman. He said, people are excited about the fact that there are fewer outcomes and there is going to be more space to explore the interests of our students in our schools. My boys are interested in Minecraft, which is a video game. They're interested in SimCity, in Civilization. They're not necessarily interested in what they should be learning. This seems a complete move away from hundreds of years of education practice into Never Never Land.
Yeah, there's so many issues here, and I also will mention the people that are excited. I don't know if that's the teachers who are involved in the process. According to the BCTF, which is the union here, there are 62 teachers involved in this curriculum rewrite, which has really just been over the summer and fall, which other sort of education policy people have said, and that seems like a pretty short process. This has not gone to public consultation, so it's not like parents have been privy to this information in an input gathering sort of a way. But also, what we're looking at is exactly what you're saying, this move away from these tried, tested, and true education methods and towards something that, frankly, in my opinion, is trendy. So we have coming out of the BC Teachers Federation as well, in the President's message in their October newsletter, reflecting on the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that happened, of course, in Canada. We know we were dealing with the aftermath of the residential schools, digging into those wounds. Okay,
Yep.
that absolutely, we understand that process. But now, in order to respect that, the Teachers Federation said that they are going to try and incorporate Aboriginal education content and strategy into all grade levels in all subject matter because they don't want to marginalize Aboriginal students. So my question is, why? Just because this thing happened, perhaps the commission, is very important. Okay, point taken. But to incorporate that into our students' education curriculum in things like math, so you have actually respecting Indigenous knowledge is one of it's in the math curriculum that we have here in this draft. Why is it there?
I didn't know that Aboriginal math was different. I really, maybe I'm foolish in thinking that 2 + 2 = 4. Paige, thanks for bringing this to people's attention. Now parents can get involved and have their say before it's put into stone. Thanks so much.